Hi everyone and welcome back to Bonnie Astrology. Today we're discussing the huge monumental shift that is Pluto entering Aquarius. Now Pluto enters Aquarius on March 23rd, 2023 and will be, at least for 2023, in Aquarius until June 11th because Pluto will go retrograde on May 1st, May Day, and will re-enter Capricorn via retrograde on June 11th. So this is a short stint. It is a short stay for 2023. This is a taster, this is a teaser of what is to come in the longer cycle. But this Pluto in Aquarius transit is going to affect us profoundly because Pluto, while being small and very distant, has a lot of power. The last time that Pluto changed signs was 2008, and we can recall quite easily, whether because we were alive at the time or through the history books, how 2008 was a huge year. Pluto rules secrets, it rules those in power. So a lot of information came out about the banks in 2008 and the repercussion that followed from that operation in the shadows. Pluto rules the shadows. So for Pluto to be changing sign, it usually affects the collective, and especially so this time because it's entering Aquarius, and Aquarius is associated with the collective. So let's look at the archetypes of Pluto and of Aquarius, because astrology is an equation. So Pluto plus Aquarius equals Pluto is the planet that we associate most with transformation. Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. So we think of Scorpio, we think of transformation, we think of the death rebirth cycle, we think of the shadow, we think of mystery, we think of depth and great change and great wealth and great power. Those are the themes of Pluto. So with Pluto, we can oftentimes see how something grows or operates out of the darkness, such as the lotus flower, which grows from the mud. There is great change comes from Pluto because Pluto is more concerned with the truth. So a lot of time we have this stuff coming out in the shadows. Usually it comes out because of Pluto. Pluto may operate in the shadows, but it also exposes because Pluto wants us to operate from a place of absolute soul truth. Pluto is more concerned of what is true than what is not. But Pluto also has this way of making us understand how silly things are, how little certain things matter, because Pluto is the planet associated with death. And we can sometimes notice when we're exiting a sign that Pluto has been in, we start to become very aware of how silly and ridiculous certain parts of it were. So for example, we're exiting Pluto in Capricorn, we become aware of how ridiculous flex culture has been. You see with reality TV stars flexing their many Rolls Royces or their private jets. We see the top 1% with Capricorn. How ridiculous certain things are due to the events of the pandemic, a cost of living crisis, and how we're no longer resonating with that type of interest, I suppose, in those with great wealth. So you can see maybe with Pluto exiting Capricorn and moving into Aquarius, how we're going to be less enchanted by those in power. There's going to be less worship for billionaires, for example. There's going to be less worship for the Kardashians is a good example as well. Or how silly the financial system or the government, the way that it's structured, the way that it works, the patriarchy, capitalism, how people are starting to move away from these type of things and move into Pluto in Aquarius, which is more about the collective. When we think of Aquarius, we consider themes of the collective, of social ideology and social norms. So what we, the people, are interested in rather than the top 1% now shifts to everybody else with Aquarius, and how we are living and how we take back our power, because Pluto rules power, Aquarius rules the people. So this transit is more to do with people taking back the power. Aquarius also rules technology, data, science, systems, and social issues, as I said before, social norms and ideologies and the collective. So this is an interesting one because with the particular shift in energy with Pluto moving into Aquarius, as I say, Pluto as one of the slower moving planets, its energy, its shifts do affect the collective profoundly, but now that it's moving into the sign associated with the collective, you can bet that there's going to be a lot coming up about what the people want or how we're going to live or operate as a society going forward. Now, this isn't to say this is all going to occur within the first 3 months, but you may notice some repeating themes from the last time Pluto was in Aquarius. So the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was actually the 1700s. So there's nobody alive today that would have been there, at least not in this lifetime, during the last Pluto in Aquarius cycle. So Pluto was in Aquarius from 1777. I love the fact that there's 777 on that. If you're into angel numbers, you can often think of new paths with 777 until 1798. And this was a time of both the American and the French revolutions. Aquarius is a rebellious sign associated with revolution. And this was to do with the topple of the monarchy. Now, this may be something that presents itself again as a similar theme, but considering the way that governments are structured now, a lot of the time with particular governments, there is one person who holds all the power, almost like a monarchy back in the 1700s. So this can be the topple of world leaders. This can be people rebelling against a particular leader. This can be the reckoning of a particular leader. In many cases, because Aquarius is opposite Leo, which is the sign of monarchy, yes, but also the sign of leadership and one person calling all the shots, whereas Aquarius wants it to be a joint decision and for it to work for the majority rather than the minority at the top. So this also coincided with the discovery of Uranus, which I love because Pluto going through Aquarius meant that we discovered the planet Uranus due to new technology. So whenever we think of, and that's the telescope by the way, but whenever we think of Pluto going into a particular sign and discovering a new modern ruler for that sign, that's quite profound and quite significant because Aquarius is now ruled by Uranus when Aquarius was traditionally and is still, so to speak, ruled by Saturn only. And there was a book published in 1792, A Vindication of the Rights of Women by Mary Wollstonecraft. So themes of human rights were also playing out at this time, which would have been quite revolutionary in itself. So there's many things with Pluto going into Aquarius. It is going to bring huge focus onto the power we have of as people, the changes that need to occur. By the time Pluto exits Aquarius, we will not be living the same way. Societal norms and ideologies will be incredibly different. But for us on a personal level, one way that I want to express this for you to consider is that if you have any placements at 0 degree of Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, or Leo, you're going to feel this year. You're going to feel this between March and June most intensely because Pluto is going to be forming a hard aspect, whether that is a conjunction, an opposition, or a square to your planet or angle that is at 0 degrees of one of the fixed signs. So pay particular attention if it is your sun, moon, rising, or your angles. So that would be the ascendant, the descendant, that would also be your MCIC axis as well. So pay attention to that if you have a fixed placement at 0 degrees. Pluto will want you to be absolutely true to yourself where it comes to this particular placement or angle because Pluto wants you to be authentic. Pluto wants you to be living from a space of truth to your soul. It wants you to let go. Usually with Pluto, there is a theme of letting go. Something has to be let go of in order to call in something more authentic, something more real for you, so that you can make space for that kind of emotional soul fulfillment. As I say also, Pluto has this way of making us see how silly and meaningless certain things are. So you may be noticing certain things in your life that just don't make any sense for you anymore. You just might not be so interested in the material. You might not be so interested in the stuff you've accumulated, the social climbing you've been doing, the Capricorn themes. Similarly, if you do have placements at 27 to 29 degrees of the cardinal signs, so that would be Capricorn especially, Cancer, Libra or Aries, you will be feeling the impact by hard aspect of Pluto as well, but you will already be aware of it by this point, how that theme is playing out in your life. So as I say, Pluto has this way of making you make space for your soul fulfillment. And it's interesting too, because as I said before, growing out of the darkness, the shadow work that you have been doing in Capricorn will be quite different to the shadow work you're doing with Pluto in Aquarius, because Pluto in Aquarius will be focusing on a whole new house in your particular birth chart by transit. Now, I do have a March 2023 horoscope video where I do go into what Pluto changing into Aquarius means for each of the individual zodiac signs, so you can check that out if you're interested. So I'm actually going to read a poem which I think summarizes the planet Pluto quite beautifully, and it gives us a lot to think about when it comes to Plutonian transits, because maybe it's the fact that I have a Scorpio stellium, my Sun is in Scorpio, my Mars is in Scorpio, both conjunct my Pluto in Scorpio. So Plutonian energy is something I'm very interested in, and I feel that this poem, Death a Lover, since I was about 16, really stood out to me. It's by James Shirley. And whenever I think of Pluto transits, I think of this particular poem. And I think of it mostly now because Pluto entering Aquarius, as I said, is opposite Leo. And Leo is the sign associated with royalty, with leadership, with, to an extent, flexing, that very regal, showy energy. This is the poem. I'm going to read you one stanza. The glories of our blood and state are shadows, not substantial things. There is no armour against fate. Death lays his icy hand on kings. Sceptre and crown must come tumbling down, and in the dust be equal made with the poor crooked scythe and spade. So scythe energy is very Plutonian. Pluto is the planet associated with death. It's also the planet associated with rebirth. But this poem makes a lot of sense when Pluto enters Aquarius, because it shows us that nobody, no matter how much wealth they have, no matter how much prestige they have, no matter how much power they have, nobody can prevent death. And death is a leveler in that regard. You don't exit this life to the next, regardless of what your beliefs are regarding death. You don't exit with the things you possess. And when we think of Pluto and Capricorn, as I said before, you think of how it used to be a case where people really worshipped billionaires like Bill Gates. And that tone has changed tremendously over the last few years. So we're starting to see that maybe people that are hoarding huge amounts of wealth to themselves, maybe that's not something necessarily you want to aspire to. Maybe that's not actually good for the planet. Maybe it's a time where everyone is tired of a rule for the top 1% versus the majority. And I feel that Pluto entering Aquarius is going to be very interesting to observe when it comes to those in power, particularly leaders. So as I mentioned, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we had the French and the American Revolution. And as Pluto is entering Aquarius now, there are a lot of protests and rebellion taking place in France due to, I believe, the banning of protesting. Macron is trying to ban protest. I don't think Macron has an astrologer. I'm going to put that out. But yes, that is what the Pluto in Aquarius transit, to summarize, is all about. And as I said before, this is just a taster, but we're going to notice key themes playing out with Pluto shifting signs. If you're sensitive to energy, particularly if you are a Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, you're going to feel this, because Pluto is your modern ruler. And whenever Pluto changes signs, it's so rare that you're likely to feel this. On a personal level, something that we can focus on ourselves when it comes to Pluto moving into Aquarius. As I said before, Pluto wants you to focus on what is authentic, and you'll start to let go of things that just don't seem to resonate with you anymore. They don't seem to resonate with who they are. Now, this can be a particularly interesting few months in 2023 and the broader transit, of course, but you may notice that you're actually moving away from certain friends. Pluto wants you to be friendly with people who feel like soul tribe. That's going to be a huge theme of Pluto in Aquarius. Connecting with people who feel like soul tribe, people that you really connect with. Friendships that are based on absolute truth. Not social networking, not to climb the ladder, not because you can get something from them. Friendships are likely to change based on who you're truly compatible with and how you feel on a soul level, what resonates with your soul. This might also be a time when you change your relationship with the internet and social media. Coincidentally, the Saturn return of the internet is occurring while Saturn is in Pisces, which will be running alongside this particular transit. Both Saturn and Pluto change signs in the same month, March 2023. So you might notice your relationship with the internet, with technology, begin to change. You may find yourself deleting social media accounts, wanting to move away from certain social networks, from maybe certain forums. There could be huge changes with different websites that are very popular on the internet in this time as well, and as part of the wider theme. You may also become very aware of friendship or social or internet trauma that is holding you back or still affecting you from living your best life. Friendship trauma is very real, and a lot of people will have experienced traumatic events when it came to friends, particularly in schools in their formative years. And this may be something that is plaguing you in your adult life, or if you are still, a young adult, this might be something that you want to work through with a therapist, a psychologist, through some form of healing, because Pluto is a natural psychologist. So you might be finding that you're more aware of trauma when it comes to friendship, when it comes to social rejection and social isolation. This is also a time where there may be a lot of working through trauma when it comes to what you've experienced on the internet, bullying on the internet, being subjected to abuse on the internet. We did see in the United Kingdom, there was a case against someone called Stephen Bear that was, I don't know how much you can say on YouTube, but it was that he had put an explicit videotape without his ex-girlfriend's consent online, and he had made money from it, and now he's gone to prison. So this is a big theme of Pluto going into Aquarius, reckoning of sorts, and a change in terms of the power that we have with the internet. Themes of power and control regarding the internet and social media is going to be a big part of the Pluto and Aquarius transit. So some people who may have experienced trauma on the internet or on social networking may be telling their stories more. This may become something we're more aware of, and this might be something you're choosing to work through with Pluto going into Aquarius. Pluto in Aquarius is also going to be a time to focus on connecting with others. Causes that are true to your heart are going to be important during this transit. You're going to want to put your weight behind something that truly matters to you, where you can be of service and help other people because you really feel on a soul calling that you want to help. This is something you feel drawn to on a soul and a spirit level in terms of helping other people, in terms of subscribing to a cause. And similarly, just as much you can move away from causes that you no longer resonate with, and your awareness of certain things that you want to maybe throw your weight behind may start to change and shift with Pluto being in Aquarius. So I am going to be doing an oracle card reading for Pluto moving into Aquarius to get a little bit more of collective energy on what this transit is going to mean for us all. It's worth getting a little bit of insight into what this might mean for the collective, as it is a very intense time astrologically. There's a lot of shifting. So if you're sensitive to energy, you're going to feel this. If you're an empath, you're going to feel this. If you're a Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising, you will really feel this because Pluto is your modern ruler, and Pluto doesn't change signs very often. So this is going to be something you're very aware of, and you might even be aware of this physically. It might manifest as unusual physical symptoms. Pluto is associated with purging. So if you're feeling sick and unwell at this time, it might be a purging of trauma. Your body might be trying to purge something out of your system that is not serving you, that is toxic to you. So you might notice stomach upsets, you might notice colds, flus, you might notice that you're feeling very under the weather and you don't know why. There's no, discernible obvious reason as to why you're feeling unwell, but Pluto can have that effect on people, especially when it's changing signs. It is a purge of sorts. So let's have a little look and see what Pluto in Aquarius is going to mean for the collective. And also, if you're in Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, you might notice the energy shifts as well. I'm crying in Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Aquarius. Okay, let's have a little look and see what we got. Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto in Aquarius. Between worlds. Oh, as I said before, Pluto rules the underworld. So between worlds is very appropriate. But what I love about this card is that the flamingo is moving from the grey into the vibrant saturated colour. Not everything in life is black and white, although Pluto can sometimes make us feel as such. Pluto can be associated with Old Testament energy in a sense, in that it's an eye for an eye. Pluto in its lower vibrations can be about revenge and things like that, and to see things from, a very... sometimes it can be seeing things from a dark perspective. And I feel like with Pluto moving into Aquarius, we are being asked to consider how we approach this sort of collective change. Are you doing it from a higher vibration? Because this can help. Do you want to bring fear and, I would say fear, into this new saga, or do you want to bring hopefulness and camaraderie forward? Because Pluto in Aquarius, it really wants to redefine and reestablish our relationships as a society, as a collective. So I think with this particular card, the moving from the grey into the colour is saying that this week that Pluto moves into Aquarius, there's the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, the equinox everywhere, but the spring in the northern hemisphere, the new moon in Aries at 0 degrees. This is a whole new world we are entering. It is a new era, and with Pluto changing signs, that sort of energy shift is huge. So you're being asked what it is that you want to step into, what it is that you want to step into, the vibration of, the energy of, how you want to live, how you want to, experience life, what you're taking back your own personal power, because Pluto is power, taking back your power. Pluto in Aquarius asks us to reconsider our truest soul wishes and aspirations, because Pluto is to do with our soul, our psyche, what's true to us, and Aquarius is to do with our aspirations and our wishes and our hopes for the future. So you're being asked to evaluate what that is this week, and you're being asked to feel the potential for vibrancy with it, because that's a very vibrant color scheme. It's very tropical, it's very beautiful, and it's moving out of the grey. So it is asking for clarity on what it is that you want in this new world, because this is a new era, this is a new beginning, this is a whole new world that we're entering. Even if you can't see it just yet, the shift is quite profound. Let's see what else we have going on for Pluto in Aquarius. Come to the edge. Ah, interesting. I love the intensity of that. Come to the edge. This is again giving me the energy of soul truth. So with between worlds and coming to the edge, it is asking you to be very true to yourself, true to your wishes, true to your desires. It's not about doing anything that's harming other people. That can manifest with Pluto. There can be people who want to do harm. Key figures in history that are forever remembered are Plutonian in nature. They're remembered for the destruction, for the death, for the change that they brought about as an individual. So it's asking you to really make changes based on your truth and authenticity, but not in a way that is going to hurt the collective, not in a way that's going to hurt everybody else. But with coming to the edge, I think it is asking us to consider what our truest desires are for ourselves and who we really are going forward with come to the edge, because sometimes being yourself can feel like an incredibly risky thing in certain times of our life or certain parts of our lives, but the message remains to be very true to yourself and true to your soul, and also to embrace the intensity of it. Pluto is a very intense energy, and it might be, if you have conjunctions to Pluto in your chart, I know I do, my Sun and my Mars are both conjunct Pluto and Scorpio very closely, within a degree, and if you have conjunctions to Pluto in your chart, you might be very comfortable with Plutonian energy. Other people not so much. Intensity can frighten some people, but with Pluto changing signs, it's asking you to address your relationship with intensity, particularly emotional intensity. Oh, we got a card that fell. Breathe. I love this card. Do you know why I love this card? It has the lotus on it. And sure, didn't we mention that lotuses grow from the mud? Lotuses grow from the darkness. Beautiful. It's also just simply saying to breathe amidst the changes, to stay grounded, to reconnect with your body, to come back to the present moment. Pluto, very obsessive, quite compulsive. In Aquarius, that is to do with, social networks. You might be very glued to your phone, to what's going on in the news, if big events are playing out, especially when it comes to social justice. Events may be playing out that you really want to look into, but you might become very obsessed. You might be giving away all your power and your energy in doing so, and it is asking you to call back that power, to take moments for yourself, to take moments for your wellness and your well-being. You can't pour from an empty cup anyway. It's not about ignoring the world around you. It's not about ignoring what's going on in the world, but sometimes you do need moments to focus on yourself, and you need moments to focus on healing and taking a breath, even if that's all you're doing, taking moments to breathe. Aquarius is associated with the future, so with Pluto there can be anxiety an obsession about the future. What's it going to mean? You might be suddenly watching every astrology video under the sun, every pick a card under the sun, every, calling every psychic under the sun. What's going to happen in this new chapter? Well, you have a part to play in that. And this breathe card is asking you, higher power was underneath. Destiny has a part to play in it as well. You have a part to play in this new Pluto and Aquarius saga, because you're part of humanity, you're part of the collective. So you might feel in Pluto and Aquarius you have a bit more power than you did when Pluto was in Capricorn, unless you're in the top 1% watching this. So let's have a little look and see one more card. Maybe two more cards, I'm not so sure yet, I won't commit. TikTok. This is to do with timing. It's time for something. It's time for a new beginning. It's time for a new era. It's time for new themes to play out. Ooh, one more, chaos and conflict. Okay. It is time. I like this card as well for the Plutonian energy, because this is a zebra that has been masking as a giraffe and the fake layer is coming off. This zebra is going to just simply be the zebra that it was meant to be. It's now going to be living and operating from a place of truth, who it really is, not who it's pretending to be, to please everybody else maybe, or just for at one point in its life a survival technique. I don't know what the background is for this particular zebra, but it's about embracing who it truly is. And sometimes that can generate a bit of conflict when we're making a great change in our life, whether it's, say you've been working the one job for a very long time and it's not fulfilling to you anymore, the route you want to go down, but you have a family and they have a say in what it is that you're doing. So perhaps it is going to cause a bit of conflict in making those type of changes. Most of the time change is kind of uncomfortable, but it leads to growth. And don't forget the lotus flower that grows from the mud. There can be a bit of chaos this week. There can be a bit of conflict this week. Big things may be playing out in the world this week, and it is important to remain grounded. It is important to breathe. I feel like this card is particularly significant because of the lotus, but we are between worlds. Great change is happening, but it is also letting us know with this card that it is time for change. It is time for something different. It is time for a new era with the new moon in Aries, with the fact we're entering eclipse season, the fact that so much change is occurring astrologically, as above, so below. But we have so much say in how we use our energy, how we go about our lives. And Pluto likes to remind us that power does matter. And we have to use our own power in co-creating the future that we want, because Aquarius is the future. So you can bet that Pluto moving into Aquarius is going to be a huge change for us all, and it is going to bring great transformation, both personally and collectively. And the cards just simply want you to remember to breathe through it. Breathe through the changes. Change is an inevitable part of life. And the thing about Pluto is if you're not changing and evolving, you're not living. So that is what I have for this Pluto in Aquarius video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know below how you're feeling about Pluto entering Aquarius. If you have any personal placements at 0 degrees of the fixed sign, you may be very impacted by this full moon. Let me know in the comments if you have those. And I hope you have a great one, and I'll talk to you soon.